art has been a part of my life all of my life, as long as I can remember. I remember at a very, very young age falling in love with Norman Rockwell's work, and I knew when I was 6 years old, I knew I wanted to be an illustrator like Norman Rockwell. I just wanted to live like him and illustrate and tell stories with pictures like this guy did. It amazed me, and I worked really hard with my art all the way through, high school and out of high school. There wasn't, and I was in the fine art at the time. I was painting, oil painting, and doing sculpture and different things like that. And I did okay for a kid, but when I became a man and time to get out there on your own, there was just no market for art, not of my kind anyhow, in Louisiana. And I ended up joining the military. And long story short, 30 years passed. And it was about 2.5 years ago. How long was it? It's been a year and a half since Google Plus started, right? Or 2 years?
Yeah, in June of 11.
That was beta?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim and I both joined Google Plus during beta testing. We were one of the two of the fortunate ones, and we became good friends here, and we've got to know lots and lots of people here. But my art started before Google Plus. When I picked it back up totally by accident. Had no intentions of it. I wasn't looking for it, but I accidentally found a website called Freaking News, and they have Photoshop contests there, and I entered one just for the heck of it, and I did some crazy thing with stuck Obama's head in some painting or something, like a 5-minute chop, and I did okay in that contest, and so I did another one and another one, and I was having a blast. And before I knew it, I had done 400. I had 400 entries. I was having a blast, and it was just for fun. It was just I had no intention of finding another career, and I started about 2 months in. I started practicing with something. Well, let me say this. First, I found Sebastian Kruger. That anybody that knows caricature works, Sebastian Kruger is a living master. He's an absolute genius. He doesn't do caricature work anymore, but he's got a huge collection he did of the Rolling Stones that will go down in history as a great body of art. But he is the one that inspired me to try caricatures. Well, I had nothing. I had a little $500 Dell PC and a mouse, and so I started doing caricatures, and I'm painting hair with a mouse, which is kind of difficult, and out of the blue, I was contacted by FHM magazine, which is owned by Bauer Media in the UK. It's an enormous magazine, and they offered me a 5-piece commission, and it just blew me away. It totally knocked me for a loop. I had no idea that anybody would pay for what I was doing, and but they told me what they needed, and I said absolutely, no problem. I answered them just like I'd been doing it for years, and I hung up the phone, and I'm like, oh man, I hope I didn't get in too deep, but let's see, and I did it. I did the job. I had a blast doing the first job. It paid great. It was 5 different pieces. One of them was a 2-page spread. They went nuts over it. They loved it, and that started a working relationship with FHM magazine, Tennis magazine, and then things just kind of led from there. I've done several covers for some different magazines. I got one coming out soon in an art and music magazine that I'm not going to mention because the last launch didn't happen. So, yeah, it's been incredible. It's been a crazy ride. I learned how to do caricatures with photo manipulated caricatures, which is something different and kind of, it was a niche that nobody had tapped into and nobody was doing it. So I got international exposure immediately, and people were calling me from. So yeah, things are really looking up. One thing I wanted to say too about Google Plus, Tim has a really nice following on Google Plus. He's very popular with his posts. They go on what's hot list all the time. I've never done that before. Tim does it. He can do it. He's funny. He's just funny, But Tim had built up a real large following, and he had, for some reason, had to close his account out and start over. But I've got 1,300,000 followers now, and climbing. And these commissions, literally 90% of my commissions have come through Google Plus, whether it be a portrait like you see on Tim's little lower third there. That was one of the early commissions I had on Google Plus was one of Tim. Tim bought that one, and I've since done one. I did another one that I thought was a little bit better for him. But whether it be portraits, all the way up to big movie deals, the whole shooting match with a movie deal. So I tell you, it's just been a blast. It's been a while. It's a crazy train, like Ozzy said. But
actually, you and I met recently, and it was something on Google Plus. And although we're maybe 50 miles from one another, but I mean, over 1 million followers. I mean, that's extraordinary. So you must get a tremendous amount of feedback, people circling you and plussing you. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I do 3 to 5. I get 3,000 to 5,000 followers a day. I dove into social media really got serious with it 1.5 years ago. I dove in head first, didn't know a thing about what I was doing. I just shooting high, and I've done well. I've got a good following in all of my networks. I've got about 15,000 friends on Facebook, between friends, subscribers, and my fan page, and then LinkedIn and all. There's so many others, but yeah, social media has been great for business.
Question I have, and Tim, please help me out with the answer here. And why Google Plus? I mean, I got to tell you, I've been involved in the internet for over 20 years, both teaching and writing about it, and publishing by Buzz, and handling legal issues, etc. And I have never seen anything in my, at least in my life, over the last internet life, 20 years. As profound as Google Plus and Hangouts, and I'm just wondering, and I live, breathe the internet. And I'm just wondering, for you guys, what is about Google and Google Plus that you really feel like that's where the market is, that's where the new social media industry is?
But no, it's the people. It's somebody once said Facebook is for friends and family, and Google Plus is for meeting new people. And just about everybody I've met on Google Plus are just real people that will come to your aid if you have a technical question. If you have whatever need you have, you can just do a post and start a hangout, and you'll have help with it. And the relationships you build through Hangouts, just like this, one-on-one. And you get to hanging out with people like Rodney said. He and I met a couple of years ago, and we hang out several times a week. Catch up, and you make real friends. It's a lot different than any other platform, because Google's behind it. And imagine this, and a lot of people don't think about it, but say you're in a town and you want to meet some new people, you can go to Google Plus, search your town, and it will show you profiles of people on Google Plus in your town. And then you can read their profile, and you can find out what they're interested in or what their expertise is or whatever. And you add them to your circles without worrying about if they accept your friend request or not, and communicate with them, and go from there. So
now, from a business standpoint, I mean, certainly in Rodney's situation, he's talking about, my God, over 1 million followers just on this social network. I have read, and I've seen other people talk about it on Google Plus in terms of it being the real business network, social media.
Rodney, one thing that helped Rodney a lot was that free beer ad.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Rodney is, I was talking to my uncle who lives in Richmond, Virginia, and he found out I was on Google Plus and that I knew Rodney, and we hung out, and his comment was, Rodney Pike is a national treasure. He had seen his work. I mean, and yeah, there may be a lot of people who do what Rodney does, but only Rodney does it the way Rodney does it. It's you have to. I mean, he gets that vision, and he can make it be what he sees in his head. And most people just warp and drag and go, "Oh, that looks pretty good,"
This is the thing about what I do and how I've gotten to where I am. I haven't planned anything, and I don't make any plans. I don't put any restrictions or any limitations on what I can reach and where I'm going to go with this. But I've always just let my intuition lead me, and I let the images lead me. When I do an image, I start out with an image. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, and I just let it lead me. And I feel the same way about my business. If it leads me into 3D animation, and that would be wonderful, because ultimately, to be able to take exaggerate an image, but maintain that eerie realism, and then make the things talk, animate at the same time.
Sure.
That would be awesome. And there are a lot of people that want to do that, but they don't have the financial backing or the technology yet to do it. Now, somebody eventually is going to do it, because it's something that's never been done before. Well, how do you do that? Who do you hire to do something that's never been done before? Yeah. Somebody that's got a vision and can create the technology that it's going to take to make it. So if it goes there, great. If it doesn't, I may end up strictly going to digital painting 100%. But I'm not gonna try to decide at this point. I'm just gonna let it lead me. It's done. It's worked well so far, and I'm just gonna keep on keeping on.
Speaking of the vision, why don't you show us some of your artwork, and so we can visualize and maybe ask questions about it.
Sure. That's where I can scroll through some images for you.
Wow.
Y'all know who he is.
Okay.
Steve Martin. I'd love to do some more of Steve Martin. It's just hard to find good images of him.
But that was a good point you made about, if you got into animation, can you imagine, because all these animated films have these stars as voices, but imagine a movie made about the stars involved, but they were animated characters that Rodney created, but Steve Martin would be Steve Martin. And I mean, in other words, you actually got the people, but had them animated with these.
Right.
With these characters, that'd be cool.
That's my ultimate dream. Yeah, to see one of them appear to really be breathing and talking, and it's that eerie. It's convincing enough to be kind of scary a little bit.
No, Bill Murray's kind of.
It can't be real, but it's believable. But it's got a semblance of believability.
Anyway, why don't you show us how it's done?
I'm going to show you Bill Murray. What basically I go through. I'm opening this up with Photoshop CS6, and I'm just going to kind of show you the layers, what I start with, and that obviously that right there is finished product. Now that's what I start with, and this is very chopped up and broken up and very, very shortened, because this is a 2-day process. Okay, now I'm gonna show you in 30 seconds. I've got these kind of numbers, so the first thing I did with Bill here. Bill's got a strong, wide jaw, the width of his jaw. So I exaggerated that just a little bit there. Then the next layer. That didn't come out. Oops, that's not it. I got something numbered wrong. Okay. Let me just start from the bottom. And then at some point I would take copy this section here and shrink his neck and make it kind of meet up where his jaw is. Change, re-add the ears, maybe resize them. At some point during this, well, let me do this first. I would. He
winked when you were doing that. He winked at me. I swear.
He did. Because Steve Martin's got a big forehead, he doesn't have an extremely large nose. He's kind of got a small mouth, so I shrunk that down, all the way down to here. And you see 4 eyes there, so I made a couple of patches, just rough patches to cover that up, so I could visually get an idea of where I'm at. And then the next step would be, the top of the head, and this is what I would do here. I did some wild kind of exaggeration there, but that's the first rough stage, what I call the first rough end. And then the next day I work on all the details, and a whole lot of steps to that, but the bottom line is it goes from here to there. And I try to, I'm very detail oriented. I try to get all the details in. I repaint the hair, and it's not just shapes in the face that you exaggerate. A lot of times the color exaggeration. That's something I learned from Norman Rockwell. Usually yellow in the forehead, and then you got more red in the bottom. You look at Norman Rockwell's paintings, you'll see that. And it adds something to the caricature, to the humor there a little bit. Just adds a little something to it, which it didn't have here, So there it is, and basically, so to kind of sum it up, let me unshare here. To kind of sum it up, basically what I do is I chop images apart and I put them back together again, and the way that I want to see them. So a lot of people, I've gotten a lot of flack from people in the caricature community that say, "Oh, that's not real caricature because you're using a photograph." Well, I have an extensive background in drawing and life drawing and anatomy study and everything else. I know how to draw, and you need to know how to draw to do something like this. You need to know to be able to visualize the thing 3D and the skull structure in that, to be able to assemble the thing and it still look like a person and be recognizable. So yeah, but that's basically what it is. It's people want to know my secret and they want to know what software. Well, it's nothing fancy. I just chop stuff up and I put it back together. Very carefully.
Sounds delicious. Could you maybe just show us a few more items?
Oh, again, that's back to Steve Martin. This was an old one of 50 Cent. That was one that was kind of fun. Was Admiral Mike Mullen. He got a kind of a puppy dog face, and I pushed that on that one. This was one I did for a man. It was really interesting. A man, I don't think there's a man that loves his daughter any more than this guy. He has commissioned over 300 artists to do portraits of his daughter. And this was one that he commissioned me for, but I gave it to him. I didn't charge him for it because it was such an impressive story. You know, I do a lot of crazy. Yeah, I do a lot of crazy stuff, and a lot of it involves Rowan Atkinson, and specifically his character, Mr. Bean. Everybody loves Mr. Bean. You know, I can show you one like, let's see, you know, something like this that, you know, I spent two and a half, 3 days on, and people pass it right by, not paying attention. Whereas they see something, and let me find an example. They see something like this, and they go berserk. They love it, you know, because it's just absurd. And, you know, that's what I'm good at. Just doing absurd, ridiculous things. And a lot of people want to know, you know, what's the meaning? Is there an in-depth meaning? Or
but he's so in character there, you know.
Yeah. I use him for Ginger Thursday, you know, the redheads. So anyhow, yeah, let's see. I've got Alan Greenspan. That was kind of an experiment in drooping skin. Another one of him, kind of a different. And you know, this is where I was playing around with the way you can take a character. You know, draw the face down this one. I was blowing his head up. You know, just kind of going in a different direction with the character each time. I do lots of Rembrandts and Bouguereaus and all with Mr. Bean in it. This is an old one I did of Bill Clinton.
With the red nose, of course.
And this was one that was requested by a Louisianian, and obviously he was not a Republican. And we all know who that is.
Oh, yeah.
It's not been published. Maybe somebody will call me one day. I don't know. But it was fun.
It's actually an incredible picture.
It was a lot of work.
Jindal.
That was a full week's work, and because everything is custom built. I custom built that throne. You know, I had to paint all these, you know, these alligators and all this stuff, and the pelicans and stuff. And I actually made them from real animals, and then had to take them and make them look 3D, and then put a gold overlay on them, which was kind of difficult.
Now that the building in the back, that's the Capitol. That's the old Capitol. Am I correct?
Yeah, I love the old state Capitol.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a good place to put a sinkhole and put him in. Now,
that's amazing.
And this was somebody else's brainchild, not mine. I mean, I did the work, but it was someone that requested. This is a fired button, as I don't know if you can see from there, but and this was actually, when I posted it, I simply posted it with an article that was posted by a newspaper about firing employees. So it wasn't my opinion. It was the news. There's Bruce Willis and his Die Hard 5. This was I got a little upset with Facebook and their censorship of fine art, and that was a little rebellious post there. That was a Salvador Dali that I chopped up. Chirac. This is a real popular one I did here, and I would love it if Conan O'Brien was at some point watches this video, because Team Coco called me and they wanted the image. They wanted to use it for a commercial bumper and some print campaigns, but they had the gall to tell me they wanted it for free. And
yeah,
I told them, I said, I'm sorry, I don't work for free, not even for Conan O'Brien, you know. So, but it was okay because the next month it made the cover of a magazine. So
now the face in the back is
Stephen Colbert. Who else, right? I didn't do a real good job on him. I need to redo him. Yeah. Who else would be peeking through the door though but Stephen?
That's funny. That's funny.
Messing around with Obama. That was back in this is early days. I didn't know anything about exaggeration. I was blowing everybody's ears out of whack, and I got a little bit better feel now, and I'll show you some of them more because there are hundreds here. I can't show you all of them. It would take forever. But some of the more recent ones, this is actually, I like this one. This is Tim again. Tim did something very kind for me, and shared something, a piece of technology with me, and I did him that for a thank you.
It was your birthday.
I hope it wasn't an insult, but I kind of like it. It's fun anyhow, the look to it. And here's a recent one I did of Mick Jagger. That dude's just got amazing features, and it's hard making him not look like he's
a frog.
Yeah. I'm playing around right now. See this? I'm kind of doing some sketches with of Jason Seiler. He's the best in the world when it comes to political satire. That's one I just finished of B.B. King.
Yeah.
Another one I did of B.B. But you see, I put there's a lot of detail work in it, and I get in real close, 1-to-1 pixel ratio. Sometimes I magnify twice that much, and make sure that everything is just right. So.
But in a couple of weeks, we're going to have the Louisiana legislature is going to begin its session, and I'm just thinking, boy, you'd have a field day down there. I mean, really.
If I could get enough audience, that's the thing. I put my stuff out there, but I've got very, very little response from anybody from Louisiana.
Well, that's going to change.
Yeah, I've picked up a couple of jobs, good jobs, from local businessmen. One I just finished recently. I collaborated. I hired a digital painter, a friend of mine from Spain, and he did part of the work. I did part of the work, and it was fun. But yeah, I mean, I would love to have the opportunity to meet more local people and get involved locally.
Sure. Well, to close this out, let me just ask both of y'all, and that is, what advice do you have, or can you give to, say, those people who are just beginning to get involved in this particular social media network? What you did. I mean, how can they get out there within a year and a half, get themselves a million followers or so?
Well, I tell you, the key to getting there is the reason I have over a million followers.
Even half.
Well, half. Yeah, you'd probably still take SUL help. See, I'm on Google Plus's suggested user list. They have, I don't know, 100 or so people on the list around the world and around the country, I guess. I don't know, well, around the world. And they recommend, when people come in and join Google Plus, they'll suggest, hey, you want to follow these people, and there are different categories: art, entertainment, stuff like that. And so I was picked up by Google and put on the suggested user list. So I get that was enormous for me. I went from less than 50,000 circles, on my own to, in the first year I was over 1 million, But they didn't just hand that out to me. Somebody, I kind of had to earn it.
Yeah.
I had a good following. I built a good following, and I was the key. And there's the key. If anybody wants to make it on Google Plus, you must engage, and it's a sharing community. You come and you share people's stuff. You look at I look at Tim's stuff and it cracks me up, and I share it. He shares my stuff, which we're all helping each other.
Right.
To kind of climb up that social ladder, So staying engaged, getting personal, join some hangouts, meet some people.
Right.
You never know. Vic Gandatra could drop into this hangout right now.
Yeah.
There he is.
And he has before. He's dropped into
sure.
hangouts with us, and we're like, wow, this is the big guy, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the key, you know, as far as I know. Tim may have some more to say about it.
Well, if you're when you come into Google Plus, drop the baggage. I've had people come in and they go like, well, I don't know anybody here. Well, that's the point. You know, it's not a negative. It's a positive. And so how do you get to know people? It's just like when you move into a new town. The beauty of Google Plus is you can have up to 5,000 people circled. So just start adding people.
Yeah.
You know, watch what they post. The ones you like, you keep. The ones you don't like or whatever, you can uncircle, and it doesn't offend anybody. Mm-hmm. And you know, and do some searches of things you're interested in. Find profiles of people of like interests, of maybe like geography, and join hangouts.
Some of the newer people might want to try the communities too, as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Finding, you know, their little niche you want to get into.
Sure.
Yeah. Which is your favorite community, Tim?
I am in. Let's see.
Yeah, me too. Tim ran everything, man.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of the help communities, and I think I'm in something like 70 communities. So.
You know, if I might add and maybe close with this, you know, one of the things that I really found to be amazing in terms of Google Plus is this, that my website, valuebuzz.com, gets, I'd say, about 70% of its traffic via Google, whether it's Google search or Google News or images or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I basically forget, or I don't worry about any other location in terms of driving traffic to the site. You know, I mean, other than say our newsletter that we have, it's, you know, really, there's no question. You spend time in Google Plus, you spend time, you're going to be seen on Google, and that is really, I mean, if you're talking about where the traffic is, eyeballs, I mean, that's it. And when I start getting involved, I start saying, well, wait a minute, you know, here's a guy who works for Google, and you start having a conversation with him, and then pretty soon you start getting to know, you know, really a number of people who say work for Google all around the world. And the whole thing is that in the, say, 13 years I've had valuebuzz.com, you know, if I met one person from Google, then I was lucky, I guess. And so that completely has changed, I think, the landscape in terms of my own attitude towards Google. It's if you have any questions about anything, you just ask.
That's right. That's right. People are more than willing to help. Great people here, man. A lot of good people. This is a different place. I'm not putting Facebook down because I've got 15,000 friends there or more, and I treasure them just like any of my connections. You know, they're friends or followers or what. I appreciate the fact that they follow me. So I would never say anything bad about Facebook, but they are.
It's a different world. Now
this is visual. I mean, for one, this is visual. This is a video, and that's where, I mean, video. That's where it's all driving.
This is a screenshot that one night we were all sitting in a hangout, and all of a sudden Vic drops in, and spends about 20-25 minutes with us, and it's not uncommon. Many of the Google people constantly.
Yeah, they keep an eye on things. That's what one thing about Google is. When Google started these hangouts and all, they were watching them, and they were dropping in and hanging out too. And
sure.
And when people voice their opinion, they listen.
Right. They listen.
They make the appropriate changes, and that's the big difference there. Google's got some good people, man. They got some good employees. They listen to the public. They listen to their people, and you know, one company is not going to make Google successful. It's all the people. This is 500 million people that are going to make it truly successful.
Well, talk about success. Yeah, I definitely believe that you're successful, both of you actually, and you're transferring that success to Google Plus, and hopefully we can help transfer that success outward to the world. So, Rodney Pike and Tim Jones, listen, thanks so much. I really appreciate you spending your time and hanging out with me on BayouBuzz.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.